Welcome back to the Reflection Room, where as therapists, we love having very honest conversations with you. And today is going to be no different. I'm super excited about today's topic. We are going to go over the most common questions that we get asked as therapists. So let's get started. How are you, Hannah?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, doing really good. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I'm really excited. I feel like I get these questions a lot, even if the client says it in a humorous way, like they're joking, I feel like there's actually some sincerity behind it. So
Yes.
I'm excited to hear what you would say for some of
Yes.
these.
I love it. Yeah, I agree. It didn't take me long at all when we decided to do this. It did not take me long to jot down some of the questions that we get asked pretty often. And sometimes they're funny and then of course as a therapist we're always trying to figure out where this is coming from. But I was like really looking forward to hearing your answers because I kind of know what I usually say to these questions when I get asked. So, all right, let's get started. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay. So this one is one that I mostly get in a humorous way, which is, when are you going to fix me?
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I did not think of that one, but it is true. It is common, right? And usually I'm really open with my clients. I tend to laugh and be silly with them and joke around. I'm definitely not like the stuffy, I don't know, serious one. So usually they get a similar response that you just got, which is laughter.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I wish, we always say that we wish that therapy was this like magic wand that we can just kind of wave and it would solve their problems, the world's problems, our problems. And unfortunately, it is not like that. But I think it's really funny when the clients ask that. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but for me, I think sometimes there is a little bit of there's humor there, right? Like they're like, when are you gonna fix me kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
So there is some humor there, but I think also sometimes depends where it's coming from. But I think to myself, is there a bit of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know how much longer I can take this. When can you fix me? I think about that. Like, what is this person really kind of experiencing right now in this moment where it's like, I feel like I can't take anymore. Or I think to myself, gosh, let's go back and revisit like realistic expectations for counseling. And let's talk a little
Mhm.
bit about that and what it
Yeah.
is. And maybe somebody has, some skewed perspectives. But what do you say to that? I'm just really curious.
I also laugh. I think it's funny when they ask that, and I tend to go the route of, like, maybe we should reevaluate what you
Hmm.
think therapy is. Maybe just clear some, like, bring some clarity to it for them. But also, if I've been seeing that client for a while and they say that, I sometimes wonder if it comes from a place of they feel stuck in therapy and maybe we need to
Interesting.
reevaluate their
Yeah.
goals. I might, not in a totally serious way, but talk to them about what they feel stuck on and then maybe how we can steer a different direction or work on something they want to focus on, just to kind of change directions if that's what they're looking
Yeah.
for.
That's a good point. You're right. They might be feeling like, where are we going with this? What's going on here? Or maybe not, yeah, too satisfied maybe with the direction that it's headed, which are normal things. Like we know that. And so
Yeah.
um I think that's a great point, Hannah. All right, you ready for this one?
Yeah. I'm a little nervous.
If you've ever been asked this, I have been asked it in like variations of it. But do you ever judge your clients?
I do get that a lot. Yes. Yeah. I feel like I get that one in a humorous way too. But actually,
Hmm.
some people have been really sincere when they ask it too. But yeah, I tell them, no, I'm judging you in a clinical way. Like I'm, trying to figure out
Yeah.
what's going on here, but I don't judge you from a personal standpoint,
Hmm.
like, that kind of way. And then I'll kind of ask them where that's coming from. Like if they feel judged by
Hmm.
me or if they
Yes.
felt judged by a therapist before. And then if they do feel judged by me, then I want to figure out what's going on there and then fix it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
How would you
Yeah.
answer that?
Yeah, it's funny how we do get asked that, or it's always like, "You're probably judging me," or "Please don't judge me
Yeah.
when I say this," or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, I think that you covered most of the bases, right? Where it's like, what have been their previous experiences? They oftentimes feel judged, or they about to share something that they don't talk about often with people, and so they really don't know what people's reactions are to something like that. So it's like probably a super sensitive topic. Am I doing anything that, that might come across as judging in some nature? And if so, like absolutely like want to talk about it. But yeah, so I usually will like I don't know, kind of chuckle, I think, and then, ask them, kind of probe a little bit to see like what's beneath that. I also share with them sometimes too, like my own experiences, like what if there's nothing that either I'm doing or has happened within our interaction and it's not a common thing for them to feel judged. I'll share that it can be normal to or typical to feel that way when you are talking to someone who is still kind of a stranger. You just have it's a professional relationship and you're talking about personal things, that could be just a natural fear. And I've had that too when I've been in counseling myself, where I'm like, oh, are they going to judge me for feeling this way because I'm a therapist? Like,
Yeah.
and it's so I think it's totally normal. So I try to normalize it as best as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great point, like, normalizing it because I feel like in the first session a lot, I have to normalize that because they'll be really nervous or anxious about talking to me. I'm like, "I'm a stranger. You are coming to me."
Yes.
The expectation of therapy is to open up and share all your deepest, darkest fears, but you don't have to
Mhm.
do that. So let's just
Mm-mm.
take it easy. And I get it.
Yes.
Like, I get nervous too going to therapy sometimes. So, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
sometimes they just need to feel like this is okay. I'll ask you my next question, which is, do you think I should leave my partner?
My gosh, yeah, a good one. I did not think of that. Oh, that when those questions come, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I have no clue. Oh man. So, yeah, that gets asked a lot, and I could understand it. Like I can put myself in their shoes where you have opened up, you've spoken to someone that you hopefully trust, and you're just really looking for some good advice. It's like, I trust you. I understand I might have blind spots. What do you think I should do? And I get why people ask that, But for us, we know as therapists that's like anytime a therapist is giving advice, it's probably a sign they should find another therapist.
Yes.
And, or
Yeah.
telling you what to do or yeah, and so, during those moments, I usually will say something genuine, but it's like, I'm really curious in those moments, like, what do they feel like they're maybe leaning more towards, like one direction or the other? Because oftentimes, if we're being honest, a lot of times if we really kind of quiet the noise and we really turn internally, a lot of times we do have an inkling of what the right direction might be, but most of the time we're just looking for somebody to confirm that for us or to give us the green light or the okay. And so hearing it from someone else, it can be helpful. And I feel like that's a question that is for a best friend or a parent
Yeah.
or a coworker you're close to, definitely not a therapist because we want what's best. We oftentimes follow your agenda and we try to it's almost like think about it this way. I always say, as people are kind of walking on their journeys, like we're there like with a flashlight, shining light on they're a few steps ahead and, pointing out anything that might be an obstacle or a barrier or would cause them to stumble in some ways and continuously like asking questions to get them to think, am I still on the right path kind of thing. And so, yeah, and so it does put us in this weird kind of place sometimes where it's like, I don't, oh man, I want what's best for you at the end of the day, and then we would have to decide that together, But
Mhm.
yeah, what's your reaction in those moments?
Yeah, I feel like that I agree. I think it comes from a place of, like, wanting confirmation from somebody else, and like outsourcing, for example. And I think when you're asking your therapist that, it's like getting permission from somebody else where you
Mhm,
can say, like, my therapist said, in some cases, because I do
mhm.
hear clients talk about outside of the session, they'll be like, Hannah told me I have to do this and this and this. And I'm like, wait a second.
I did not
Whoa.
say that.
And that's where it gets, like, ethically scary, and that's why they teach us not to give advice because you could go out and do those things and they go horribly wrong, and then
Mhm.
who's at fault? So,
Exactly.
yeah, so that coming from our end, it can be a little scary, but clients are gonna take it how they want to
Yes.
take it. That's also a little
Yeah.
stressful to think about. But I could say, like, let's look at the history of your relationship and what makes you think that, and more like turning it back on them, is probably how I would handle it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, Hannah. Yeah, sometimes there have been some times where I'm like, were we a part of the same conversation here?
Yeah.
Like, and we all have like we all have oftentimes selective hearing, again, we want to capture information that will confirm kind of what direction we're wanting to head in, the thing that we want to happen in our lives. And so it might be a little bit selective in what we take in and what we acknowledge. But yeah, there are times where I'm like, wait, pause for a second. Did you say I said that?
Yeah.
No, 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 no. Yeah. So I agree there. That was a good one. Okay, so this one, I don't know if you've been asked this, but I have some really funny clients. I love my clients. And so a handful of times I've been asked, "Am I your favorite?" or "Do you have favorite clients?" And I'm curious if you've been asked that.
I have been asked that, and it's typically ones that are the really funny ones and I enjoy
Mhm.
talking to, so I feel
Yes.
like maybe they get
Mhm.
that vibe from me that I do really like
Mhm.
seeing them. Um, so I don't know. I feel like I try to dodge that question a little bit where um I'll say something like kind of like funny back where I'm like, "Oh, I can't have favorites."
Yes. Yes.
And then kinda move on, but, something like that. But how do you
Uh-huh.
handle that question?
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough question, because so I usually will say something like, I'm not a mom, but I could imagine that if I was a mom, I would have different relationships with all my kiddos, and one relationship isn't better than the other. And so, yeah, I love my individual relationships with all of my clients, including you, kind of thing is what I'll say, which is the truth. I feel that way. Every relationship is different. I have some clients where it's like we get together and it's like it's down to business kind of thing very quickly, and I appreciate that. And then there's other clients where I have to like, all right, let's reel you in. Like, let's actually get some work done here because they're all over the place and just want to share what's been going on and stuff like that. Have very funny ones.
Yeah.
So every relationship's different, and I love that about our job. Is that you never have any mundane moments or moments that are just boring. Never, ever, ever does that happen to us. So.
Well, I have one more. My last one is, "How old are you?"
Oh my gosh, yeah, oh, especially now that I've entered into a new little phase of my 40s. It's like, I really don't wanna answer that question. Yes, I think it's funny when clients ask something like that, right? And a lot of so I don't know about you, but when I've been asked that, it's kinda like they're wanting to know if, like, what they're about to reference or talk about, I can relate or I can understand, or they might say something like, "I don't know if you were around for this, but do you remember blah blah blah?" And again, it's them kind of gauging how old I am, and so I'll just like speak to that part of it, which is like I'm curious, what's the reason behind asking? Yeah, like, or what are you hoping that I'll like understand or be able to relate to? Because that's really what I think is behind it without really kind of answering it. Now, there are times I'm not gonna, just to be honest, there are times where I have it has come up in conversation, and I'll mention it just because it's something I'm disclosing. So let's say. maybe we were talking about, like, life transitions or something like that, and I might mention, like, "Well, I really have felt a little bit of a shift as I've entered my 40," so I might say something like
Mhm.
that, but usually when they're asking, I'm like, what is behind your question? What are you trying to figure out?" Kinda thing, but yes, I think it's hilarious when they ask that.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
your response?
I think it's hilarious too because you can't ask that in public. Like, you would never ask a woman their
Oh,
age in in
no,
the real
no.
world. But yeah, like, I feel like I get it more direct sometimes. Actually, most of the time it's more direct. Like, they'll be wanting to share a story and then they'll just stop them and they're like, "Wait, how old are you?" And then wait a second. So
Uh-huh.
they can't continue the story until they know. So I will usually answer and then maybe I'll ask, like, "Does that change things for you?" Like, what what was the like you were saying, I'll try to find out what's behind the question, like how that pertains to what they were trying to explain to me. And a lot of times, actually recently, it's been older clients who feel that I'm too young, that I don't have enough life experience to help them, which that's tricky. I mean, I can't change it, so I can't like magically make myself older, and that's what I've told them. So I'll say things like, I'm almost 30, but it's not I can't change that. So if you would feel comfortable with
Mhm,
somebody who's older, that is not going to offend me because
mhm.
you want what you want and I want the best for you. So I've had to have that conversation before. But yeah, it's interesting how people perceive our age as how it affects our ability to counsel people.
Agree, and I don't know if that really happens as much in other industries. So it makes me like, for example, if you when you go to, I don't know, maybe like a personal trainer, are you thinking, or is he in his 40s? Does he understand the changes that are happening in my body, or does he get the impact hormone? I mean, I guess maybe some people might think that, but I think most people are like, "Are you a good trainer?" kind of thing, or maybe a financial advisor or something. I don't, or an accountant. An accountant might be a good example of that. Like, I don't think
Mhm.
people are really necessarily thinking like, are you in your 50s and like, have you been able to have X amount of years working in your industry? I think it's kind of more so like, what are your credentials and where do you work and, that kind of thing. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like sometimes we kind of get a little judged. A little bit more, maybe some people that work in other industries. And it's quite possible because we are talking about life experiences, but it doesn't necessarily mean that just because we haven't walked in their, because technically
Mhm.
we walked in none of our clients' shoes, and,
Yeah.
so if that was a prerequisite, then we wouldn't be able to help anyone at all, and so I we don't have to, but I think sometimes people have that misconception that we have to have some level of understanding, but we gain that understanding not from personal experiences, because at the end of the day, you really don't want us using our own personal experiences to help you
Yeah.
anyways, because it's a totally different journey. And so we're gaining an understanding from what you're sharing with us. And that is more so dependent on our skill sets and our level of expertise. And that can be an uphill battle, for sure for some clinicians. But yeah, I think it's a great question. So I have a few. I'm trying to see which one is like the best one to wrap up with. Okay. So this actually I got asked this. I don't know if it's common. Um because I was trying to think back. I was like, have I gotten asked this often? And I don't think it's common, but I have gotten asked. Definitely got asked recently, and I want to say maybe like it's been a few times. Do you ever feel like you don't know what to say back to us, or to me, or to your clients? And and so when I was when she asked, like, "Do you ever feel like you don't know what to say? Like, you don't have an answer?" And I was like, "Oh, man." What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, there are plenty of times I don't know what to say.
Mhm,
I don't know. I haven't been asked that question before, straight up. I don't know how
mhm,
I would answer that. I guess I would probably be honest and say like, yeah, I mean, there are plenty of times that I don't know what to say. But I also don't have to have all the answers because nobody's
mhm,
gonna have all the answers. So whenever I feel that way, I tend to get more curious, like dive
mm.
deeper into what is going on just to get more information or turn it back on them because they're the one that needs the answer, so maybe they can find
Mhm.
it. Um, yeah, that's how did you answer
Mhm.
that question in the moment?
Yeah. I was honest and I said, "Yeah, yes," and, there are times where I don't know what to say. And I'll actually say that sometimes with a client. There have been times where I've told the client like something along those lines, like I'm really unsure, like either if there's anything I can really think of to say that would help provide any comfort or any direction right now. Or sometimes, but I hear what I hear what you've just said or something, so they know that
Mhm.
like I'm listening. I just really or I'll say like, I just probably need to think on that a little bit. And that's true. I really do. I need to either think about it or consult with someone and figure out like, I'm thinking, is that the right direction to go in? And the reason why I admitted it was because I wanted her to, in this case, I wanted her to know that her struggles with knowing what to do next or where to go, the next step to take, or just being so uncertain is also something that I feel, and it's a feeling we all have experienced at some point in time, myself included. And so yes, and if I don't know what to say next, I'm not going to give you some fluffy kind of answer, just to fill the space. Like I'm going to be very intentional with what I'm saying and the feedback I'm giving back. And but it was funny in that moment because and I don't know what made her think about it because it wasn't like I was at a loss for words at that point. I don't know if she thought maybe like, oh, what I'm sharing, is it a lot? And then maybe it got her thinking, I wonder if she ever doesn't know what to say to a client. But yeah, so I was just definitely taken aback a little bit. I was like, actually, yes, there are plenty of times where I
Yeah.
don't know what to say. And it's probably happened with you at some
Yeah.
point. So, yeah, it's totally normal, I think, for us not to know what direction to go in when we're talking to other people in our own personal lives. And I
Mhm.
just wanted to normalize that experience.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Oh, this was really fun. I feel like we can probably go on and on when
Oh,
we think
yeah.
about all the questions that people ask us. I love it. Absolutely love it. But yeah, I enjoy this time. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this conversation. We just wanted to remind you guys that the more intentional you are with your reflections, the more empowered one is just bound to be. So our recommendation is the same as always. Keep reflecting.